Hello, my name is Justin Work, and I'm going to be talking to you today on the topic of abortion. People have very different views on abortion. Some people think that life begins at the embryo stage or shortly after the embryo stage, and those would be those in the pro-life position. They would say that even in that stage where it is so small and it's just starting, that even at that stage it is human life. And others would say that no, it's not until at least it can live outside of the womb, then at that point it is a human life. And those people would be in the pro-choice camp. The woman has the right to choose. Now, first thing I want to do is convince you that this is a very important debate. Between 1973 and 2008, over a 35-year span, there were over 53 million abortions in the United States alone. That is a huge number. It's a huge number. And whether or not those abortions were just lumps in a woman's womb, or whether they were actually human beings that were being executed, is a huge discussion that we need to have this discussion today. Because it is very important that we have good, solid beliefs on this. So my thesis statements today is that there are many surface-level reasons why people are part of the pro-choice camp, but I think that upon further inspection, and as we go deeper into the debate, there are many good reasons to believe that life begins at conception. So that is my thesis statement for you. Now, there are many reasons why people buy into the pro-choice ideology. I'm going to give you three main reasons why people have the pro-choice position, why people hold it. The first is that no one can really be sure when human life begins. As long as there is doubt, we cannot be sure that abortion is really killing a human being. Therefore, it should not be legal. The second is that since a woman is carrying the baby is dependent upon the mother. Therefore, that dependency means that it is not fully human. Since it can't live outside the womb, it's not a human being yet. Others try to use extreme cases like rape to try to justify that abortion is wrong, or that abortion should be a justifiable position. Now, to the first, I will say, suppose that we're not 100% sure. Suppose that we don't get to the point where we are 100% sure when human life begins. Well, would it be okay if I saw something rattling in the bush to just take a shot at it? Oh, well, maybe it was some wind, but maybe it was a human. And there's a 50% chance that it's a human. And if it is a human, I'm shooting 53 million times into the bush and killing humans and executing human beings. Would that really be right, even if I'm not 100% sure whether or not it's a human? I don't think so. And the second is the most commonly held belief, that it is okay for a woman to have an abortion because the woman belongs to her. It's in her womb. It's her body. She can do as she pleases, and it's not the government or any other person should not tell her what she can and can't do with it. Now, essentially you're saying because the baby is dependent on the mother, it is not a human life. Well, is a diabetic a human being? Someone who is just completely dependent on insulin to live? Surely you wouldn't say that a diabetic is not a human being. Listen, dependency equals humanity. We are all dependent creatures. Even those of us who are healthy, which is a great percentage of people, we're dependent on water and food to live. We are dependent creatures. And no one is self-sufficient. So just because babies are dependent does not mean, I think it just proves the fact that they are human. And the last objection is that abortion should be legal because people who get raped shouldn't unnecessarily have to carry a burden that they never chose to bear. But we have to look at this through the lens of justice. What is most just for the baby and for the mother? Obviously for the baby, it's not right that the baby should be killed because her mother was raped. That would not be right. And for the mother, even though carrying a baby for 9 months when she did not consent to is a hard burden for her to bear, I still think even in her position it is better to have the baby. James Tour points out in his book on abortion that a leading feminist magazine entitled American Feminist says that women who have abortions have a higher suicide rate and have more emotional issues. So even a raped woman would be better off having the baby than having an abortion. So again, just to summarize why people would disagree with the position I'm taking. People would say the baby can't live independently of the mother, and the baby's yet to develop a mature body, and therefore it's not a human being. But I've been saying that we know what happens. We know the progression. We know that even at that young stage of life in the first trimester that it's going to progress to be a human being, that it is a human being, that it's growing. Just because it's not at the full growth yet doesn't mean it's not a human life yet. And just because it is dependent on its mother does not mean that the mother has the right to kill it. Now, I hope that my talk with you has caused you to think deeper about your beliefs about the pro-choice, pro-life debate. Listen, I know that we don't come to our beliefs overnight. It takes a lot to change our worldview, to change what we believe about things. And I don't expect that I'm necessarily going to change everyone's beliefs through this talk, but I hope that you are challenged in some of your maybe pro-choice beliefs, that you haven't thought through these things, that you've just taken for granted what people have told you. And I would encourage you to think deeply, because this is very important. Mike Herring points out in his book on the pro-life, pro-choice debate, he just talks about how babies it got to the point in abortion where babies were literally being killed. There was partial abortions happening where babies who could easily have lived outside the mother's womb were being terminated, and just their guts just sucked out, their organs sucked out, and they were just sucking the babies out of the mother's womb. And that's where this evil will take us. That's where it has taken us. So if I have convinced you of these things, I would pray that you just act on those beliefs. Evil thrives when good people do nothing. So please think about protesting abortion, or joining or being part of the Life at Conception Act, or joining the National Pro-Life Alliance, or doing something to end this. If you really believe that life begins either at conception or early in the first trimester, you should do something to stop the killing of life. So, thank you for your time. Goodbye.